For the first time in nearly 3 years, the legislature is meeting in person with all 147 lawmakers. So what is it like to be back at the Capitol with your colleagues on campus?
It is amazing. I think we're human by nature, and the legislative process works when we can talk to each other, when we can stop by each other's office. It's very difficult with that small square that we see on Zoom.
In the first 3 weeks of this session, you've already introduced 12 bills. Several of those have received hearings, and some are even expected to have a committee vote very soon. That's amazing.
I think what people need to realize is the legislation that we run is just somebody in district saying, can you fix this? Or this is wrong, or this is right. So it's always amazing when you can take that idea that someone has and turn it into legislation, often without a fiscal note that doesn't even cost us money, and move it forward and change the law and make their lives better.
Let's talk about some of those bills that are advancing. For instance, House Bill 1635, fentanyl canines.
Fentanyl canines. Well, sadly, as you know, fentanyl is a crisis drug that's in our communities. We note it here as one pill, one kill. Sadly, only one pill can take the life of somebody, especially often it's unknowing that it was affiliated with a drug that they took. So this bill simply says that as we train canines, we have to train them in fentanyl. They're trained in other drugs, but not necessarily fentanyl. So it asks the Criminal Justice Training Center to simply train these dogs on the scent of fentanyl. And also what I learned along the way, as we learn more and more on every single bill, is that some people use fentanyl patches for pain who were not criminals, right? So we want to make sure that we fix that piece of it as well.
You also have another interesting bill, House Bill 1196, which would basically open up the plea bargain process. Tell us about that.
What I've noticed in the last few years as ranking member in public safety is that the criminal justice system is transparent, if you think about it, right? For the most part, you can see the judge, you can see the jury, you can see people testify, you can sit there all day long if you have time and watch the proceedings. However, over 90% of the cases that happen are done in plea bargains in the dark that we can't see. So I get calls from law enforcement officers saying, I'm risking my life, you're letting the criminal back out. Why? What happened? I'm seeing parents call and say, my son got 20 years instead of 7, what happened? And I'm seeing people whose child has been murdered say, why such a limited time in prison when they took the life of my child? So I don't have the answer on what that would look like, but I do know that we can send that request to the Criminal Justice Training Group, the Sentencing Guideline Commission, and the experts can figure out if there's a way that we can keep the families more involved in the process of over 90% of how the cases are decided.
Here's another bill that's very familiar, and it's back again this year, the Power Supply Grid Adequacy Bill. The governor actually vetoed it last year, even though the legislature unanimously approved it. So where are we on that process? And tell us about that bill.
As you said, as we transition to green in the state of Washington, which we're not opposed to, we have to figure out how to keep the lights on. We have to make sure that the electric grid that is adequate to not have rolling brownouts and blackouts like we see in other states, Tennessee, Florida, California, Texas. We don't want to be that state. So this simply says, can we continue the discussions on the agenda to how to keep the power on, making sure we're keeping that grid intact as we transition to green. 147, every single legislator in the state of Washington voted yes. The governor vetoed it. I have a meeting this Friday with his office to ask, please let us move this bill through this year.
And there's another bill that you have sponsored, kind of comes out of a sad circumstance, that would provide tools and resources for the location and recovery of missing persons. Talk about that bill and tell us a little bit about the circumstances here.
This bill, again, addresses the missing murdered Indigenous persons. What I've learned as I traveled through the state to find out what happens when one of our children are missing is it's all over the place. Some simply tell tribal police, some go straight to NamUs, a national database that will immediately start searching for your child or for your loved one, and we don't have that toolkit on what to do next. Also, sadly, as in Yakima, in my district, we lost Lucian, who was a 4-year-old child whose family, I had the privilege and the pain and suffering with them to look for him. I was there trying to find this woman's child and this man's child, and I think, again, there were a lot of resources we could have given that family just simply to upload your child or your loved one into a NamUs system so they knew that. It's free. Instantly you're going to have coverage and the entire nation could be searching for your child. So we're asking for a list available on an app, maybe a hard copy, whatever you need in that time of need when you just don't know what to do. We need more guidance and we need to be more supportive for the families who lose someone.
Let's finish with an up note here. The Legislative Page Program, back after 2 years of being suspended. Talk about that program, and you're looking for people to come work with you, right?
We are. The Page Program's amazing, and many people who are legislators once paged, or they go into a government job, and simply you can be 14 to 17, and you can stay here for a week with us. You get a paycheck at the end of the week, and you miss school. So you can come here, you can be with other students your age, and you can learn how the government works. So I'm very excited. If you have someone in that age group, a child or grandchild, send them our way. I'd love to sponsor them in my office.
And people can find out more information on your website?
Absolutely, just GinaMosbrucker.com. You can simply Google, it'll take you to a place where you can get all the information. The PAGE program is just go to leg.wa.gov, leg.wa.gov, and it'll give you an application, it'll come straight to my desk, and hopefully we can get you approved and get you up here at the Capitol.